Very seated, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may be seated. Someone mentioned something about a crock pot and salad. Yes, you may bring one of those, and that's really frugal. Can we have the witness back up on the stand?
While we're getting the witness, can we approach this real quick off the record?
Okay. All right. Any additional questions, defense? All right, thank you. And then any redirect?
Yes, sir. Afternoon, Mr. Dredden.
Good afternoon.
Are you aware that you're the last person to ever speak with Yesenia Suarez?
I am.
Okay. Did your conversation that ended at 1:03, did that occur within 12 hours of her husband, the defendant, confronting you at work?
I think it was around that time, yes.
So 12 hours later is her last contact?
It's the last contact.
Now, you're not denying the affair in Alabama, right?
No.
Okay. And leading up to the affair, you're not denying that there was flirting?
No.
Okay. In fact, there's quite a bit.
Yes.
Okay. How many times have you been to Uganda?
Been there twice.
Okay. You gave a statement to the police, and you saw it this morning. You gave this statement to the police on October 23rd of 2013, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you gave a deposition on July 31st of 2014, right?
Yes.
And you read in the deposition about Uganda for Mr. Dean, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and in that deposition, it said January of 13 was when you were in Uganda.
That's what it says.
Okay.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
that deposition was taken almost a year after you talked to the police.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to, I'm going to approach with your recorded statement to the police on page 10, starting at line 9, and I would like you to read your portion only of this recorded statement from line 9 on page 10, and I'd like you to stop on line 9 of page 11. Just go ahead and lean into the microphone and read it out loud for us.
Is it line 9?
Yes, sir. Line 9, page 10, to line 9, page 11. Everywhere it says Kevin Dredden, you read what you told the police.
Okay.
I object to that, Judge. That's improper.
Okay. Not really sure what it says. Not really sure where this is going. Can you read it, please? Okay. You have to come sidebar.
Mr. Dredden, I'm going to stand next to you, ask you some questions.
Okay.
You gave a statement to the police on October 23rd of 2010. In that statement to the police, did you discuss the flirting that occurred with Ms. Suarez while you were in Uganda? Yes. And what did you tell the police? I'll have you look at line 10.
1, 2. Okay.
Just that paragraph there. What did you tell the police?
You want me to read that, or you want in my
Sure,
words?
just go ahead and in your common parlance. Go ahead and tell us what you told the police, just generally.
Yeah. Yeah, outside of work, it's been nothing until
Judge, excuse me.
recent.
This is in response to nothing. And it's not the way you do it.
Okay.
So I object to it.
All right, sustain. You need to do is ask him if it refreshes his recollection.
Judge, I'm not trying to refresh his recollection. I'm rehabilitating the witness by prior consistent statement.
Okay, then he needs to look at it and see if that reminds him of the original answer.
Okay? If you'll read page 10, line 9, all the way through page 11, line 9, and let me know when you finish reading.
Can we approach?
Yes.
Try this again. Did you give a statement to the police on October 23rd of 2013?
Yes.
Okay. And during the course of that statement, did you in fact talk about the flirting that occurred between you and Ms. Suarez while you were in Uganda?
Yes.
Okay. And as it relates to your trips to Uganda, how many times have you been to Uganda?
Twice.
Okay. And as it relates to this statement, when did you tell the police on October 23rd, the day that they came to see you when she was not to be found, when did you tell the police that you were flirting with her in Uganda?
April.
Okay. Did you later give a deposition to Mr. Dean a year later in which you said it was January?
Yes.
Okay. Is there some confusion in your mind as to whether it was April or it was January?
Well, at the time, I didn't want to remember any dates or times or months or anything like that.
Okay.
And so, yes, it would be a bit confusing with some of the months.
Okay. And as you testify here today, are you picking either April or January and standing by either answer?
I believe it's April. I'm the type of person I want to confirm, and but I would pick April as that time.
Okay. And that's what you told the police on October 23rd,
That's
2013?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. And that the information was more fresh in your mind at that point than it was a year later when you gave the deposition. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
That's correct.
What do you mean?
Sustain, don't lead.
Was the information more fresh in your mind at that point than when you gave
It
the
was.
deposition a year later?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any recross?
So, Mr. Dredden, when I asked you the following question, I'm not trying to remember exact dates, but what I am trying to understand is the nature of your relationship with Ms. Suarez. So from January to, again, if I mistake this, please correct me. You didn't correct me, did you? You didn't, did you, at your deposition?
Did I?
You didn't. In January, you took a trip to Uganda in which the nature of your relationship changed from professional to personal. Is that correct? And your answer was, yes, that's when it basically opened up. Were you confused by my question when I asked you that at your deposition, sir?
No.
Are you confused today?
Am I confused at all?
Yeah.
Of the two dates?
Are you confused today?
I know it was April, but I'm not sure why I would have said January.
Well, no one is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Objection, Judge.
Sustain.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, sir.
All right, may the witness be excused. State,
Yes.
defense.
I don't need it. I'm sorry.
He can be excused.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sir, you may step down. State, call your next witness.
The state calls Deputy Wayne Miller.
Raise your right hand and be sworn, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Have a seat. Make sure you speak close to the microphone so the jurors can hear what you have to say.
Yes, sir. And may I inquire, Your Honor?
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Could you please introduce yourself to our jury?
Yes. Deputy Wayne Miller, Volusia County Sheriff's Office.
And Deputy Miller, how long have you been employed with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office?
For the past 11 years.
What are your duties with...
Excuse me, Your Honor. You need to impose an objection at this point based on our pre-trial.
Okay, we've had discussion subject to this matter before. Same ruling will stand.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
As I was asking you, what are your duties with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office?
Currently, I work as a civil deputy, where I serve process papers.
Okay. And what previous duties have you had?
Road patrol.
All right. Now, in terms of your former road patrol duties, were you working in that capacity specifically on October the 23rd of 2013 at approximately 9:30 a.m.?
Yes, sir, I was.
Do you recall being dispatched to a residence at that date and time located at 317 Covent Gardens Place in Deltona?
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose of the dispatch?
It was for a well-being check.
Did you respond?
Yes, sir, I did.
And approximately what time did you arrive at that residence?
Right around 9:30, 9:40, somewhere in that area.
Were you the first law enforcement officer to arrive?
Yes, sir.
Did other deputies or law enforcement officers respond to the scene after you?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall who those deputies were?
Deputy Garrett Morris, Deputy Jason Paul, and Sergeant Chris Rigo.
Now, when you arrived on scene, you say you were the first one there. When you arrived on scene, did you see anyone there at the... And when we're talking about a residence, we're talking about a house, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you arrived at the house, did you see anybody there located on the exterior of the home?
Yes, sir, I did.
And who is that?
That was Miss Perez.
Right. Was anyone else there with you at the time? Or I'm sorry, was anyone there with her at the time?
No, sir, she was by herself.
And without getting into what she said, did she express some concerns to you?
Yes, sir.
How would you describe, and we said Mr. Perez, is that Felicia Perez?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. And how would you describe her demeanor at the time that you came in contact with Mrs. Perez?
She appeared to me to be very emotional, very concerned, saying that she was frightened and concerned for the safety of her daughter.
Okay. And and she made these statements to you where?
We were in the driveway of the house there at 317 Covent Gardens.
Now, how long did you stand there and talk to her there in the driveway?
I'd say less than 10 minutes.
And while you were there talking to her in the driveway, what happened during that time?
She was telling me a brief story of what had happened the night before with her daughter coming to her house and Louis Toledo coming over, them having some disagreements. She said that they had left that night. Her daughter had left first. Yesenia had left. I'm sorry.
Well, let me stop you, okay? Because we can't get into exactly what she told you. But while you were there talking to her, did anybody come up?
Yes, sir. As we were talking, Louis Toledo pulled up in a vehicle.
Okay. And this is while you and Mrs. Perez were outside of the driveway, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you see the person you referred to as Luis Toledo in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you point to him and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
Yes, sir. He's standing the second from the left, wearing a pair of glasses.
May the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
It will so reflect.
Thank you. Deputy, did the defendant get out of his vehicle?
Yes, sir, he did.
All right. And what was Mrs. Perez's demeanor when, again, demeanor, not what she said, but what was her demeanor when he pulled up?
Again, she was upset. She appeared, from what I recall, she appeared to be agitated towards Mr. Toledo.
Okay. So at some point in time, did you separate them?
Yes, sir, I did.
Right. And what did you do at that point in time?
I asked Ms. Perez to stay out in the driveway down by the street while I could separate Mr. Toledo away, just trying to create distance between the two of them. At some point in time, Mr. Toledo and myself, we went inside the house.
Okay. Now, at this particular point in time, you've already had a conversation with Mrs. Perez, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she's expressed to you her concerns. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And these concerns generally involve the whereabouts of her daughter and grandkids. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Because I think you had previously described as a well-being check, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were there to check on the well-being of her daughter and her grandkids.
Yes, sir.
Now, so you, after the defendant arrives at the home, gets out of his vehicle, there's some words that are passed between Mrs. Perez and toward the defendant. You said you kind of separated them, and you took Mr. to the defendant inside the home to speak to him. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And was this something that he was, he went along with willingly?
Yes, sir. There was no problem with the separation.
Okay. So when you go inside the house, was there any other law enforcement officers with you at the time?
At that particular time, no, sir.
All right. Now, at this particular point in time, the defendant was not under arrest, correct?
No, he was not.
Okay. Where in the house did you go to talk to Mr. Toledo?
We began our conversation as soon as we walked into the house, and we continued talking as we walked throughout the entire house.
Okay. Did you tell him why you were there?
Yes, sir.
And what did you tell him?
I told him I was there for a well-being check on his wife and his children, that Ms. Perez had called and said that she hadn't heard from them, and she was wanting to know where they were at.
Okay. Did you, what did the defendant tell you in response to that?
Objection, hearsay.
But overrule.
You can answer.
He said that he didn't know where his family was at either at that time.
Okay. Did he give you sort of an account verbally about when he had last seen them? What were the circumstances? I know you had alluded to something that occurred at Ms. Perez's house the night before. Did he give you some context as to, his knowledge of where they are when he last saw them and what the circumstances were?
He just said that they...
Objection, hearsay again, Your Honor.
Overrule.
No, he just mentioned that they had had a discussion pertaining to their relationship at his mother-in-law's house the night prior, that he left, and that Yesenia and the children came to their house probably less than an hour later. The two homes are only maybe a block apart from each other, so they're within walking distance.
Okay. Did he tell you what time, the last time he had seen? And if you need to refer to your report, please do so.
From what I recall, I believe it was 10 o'clock at night was the last time that he had spoke with Yesenia.
Okay. And did he say he knew where they were?
No, he said he had no idea.
Okay. Did he tell you what time he had been at his mother-in-law's house, Mrs. Perez's house, where there was this discussion, for the lack of a better term?
From what I recall, he said that he had left his mother-in-law's house right around 7:30 the night prior.
Okay. And did he say where he went after he left Ms. Perez's home?
He said he came back to his residence.
Okay. Did he indicate to you, you said that he had last seen her since 10 o'clock the night before. Did he tell you that Yesenia Suarez had come home following the trip to the mother-in-law's house?
After leaving the mother-in-law's house, yes, that she had returned home.
Okay. And did he tell you anything that had occurred after Yesenia Suarez had come home where he said he was at?
He said that they had continued their conversation, possibly infidelity. He had accused her of having an affair with a coworker, and while they were speaking with each other, he had her make a telephone call to this coworker and the three of them spoke together on the speakerphone.
Okay. And did he tell you sort of that whether or not she admitted the affair while the coworker was on the phone or denied the affair? Did he tell you that?
The other party, the male, denied it apparently over the phone, and she had denied it as well.
Okay, and did he tell you what his response to that was?
That I do not recall.
Okay. Did he tell you that what he did after he got off the phone with his wife and the coworker?
He said he left the home, he got in his vehicle, he drove somewhere, returned maybe an hour later, I believe about 11 o'clock at home. About 11 o'clock at night when he returned home.
Okay. And did he say what he did when he returned home? You say he left in his vehicle, he comes back about an hour later around 11 p.m. Did he say what he did when he got back home?
He said he pulled into the driveway and just fell asleep in the car at that time.
Did he say how long he was asleep in his vehicle?
He said he spent the night in his car sleeping. I believe he said it was about 7 o'clock in the morning is when he woke up.
All right. And what did he tell you in terms of when he woke up, what he did, what he found?
When he woke up, he went into the house. He indicated to me that his wife and children were not there. From what I recall, he said he was a little upset with her, the fact that she hadn't said anything to him before leaving. And he prepared for work and left at that time.
Did he say why he came back to the house?
He said the reason for coming back to the house after leaving for work, it was he had run low on gasoline and he needed some cash, so he came back to the home to get some cash to buy some gas.
Now, did you, after you got sort of a verbal statement from him, did you ask if it was okay for you to look around the house?
Yes, sir.
And did he allow you to do that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And just by, and we'll have some, perhaps some photographs here in a minute, but can you just, by way of description, describe what the house looked like, sort of the layout, 1-story, 2-story, kind of how the rooms were laid out?
It was a one-story residence, split plan, master bedroom on one side of the house and 2 other bedrooms at the opposite end of the house.
All right. In terms of living room, kitchen, where would they have been located in this?
Upon walking into the house, there's a living room on the left-hand side. Straight ahead, as you continue to walk into the house, there was maybe like a little TV room. From what I recall, there's a couch, television, little coffee table there. Kitchen off to the left of that. And if you stand right there in the middle between the living room and the little TV room area, you'd have the master bedroom and bath the right side, and you'd have the other bedrooms to the left side, going down a small hallway.
All right. And in terms of the rooms in the house, how many of the rooms did you look in?
This a total of 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, the TV room, kitchen, living room, hallway, garage. There was a laundry room that went out into the garage.
Okay. And you looked in all these rooms. When you asked him, could you take a look through the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you find anyone in the house?
No, sir.
All right. Was Yesenia Suarez's vehicle at the house?
No. There's no vehicle there other than the vehicle that Mr. Toledo drove up in.
Now, as you were talking to him, was there any conversation about sort of the condition of the home, whether or not anything looked out of place, or if there's anything missing or anything like that?
Yes, I did ask him if he could help me with my investigation, is to try to find out what may have happened to his family, or if it appeared to him as maybe they had packed up clothing articles or something and left willingly. So he walked me through to help me see if there was anything that appeared to be suspicious. He told me that everything to him looked normal for the most part. other than maybe the children's backpacks, school backpacks were still in their bedrooms. And I think he said something about the closet doors were left open.
Okay, but in terms of clothing items, in terms of personal possessions, according to the defendant, it did not look like anything had been taken, anything was missing.
That is correct.
And the only thing maybe out of the ordinary was the children's backpacks, the two children's backpacks were on the bed.
That's correct.
And the beds were made?
Yes, sir.
And the same question with regard to the wife's clothing. Did he indicate that any of those things had been missing?
He said he found nothing missing.
Did you see any luggage in the home?
There was some luggage in the master bedroom. As soon as you walk in, from what I recall, it was sitting on a chair and on the floor immediately to the left of the doorway as you walk into the master bedroom.
Okay, and it was where you could see it. I mean, it obviously wasn't missing, right?
That's correct.
Were there some clothing items in the luggage?
From what I recall, yes, there were.
In terms of the overall condition of the home, neatness, how would you describe it?
The home was very neat, was well maintained. Trust me, I go into a lot of homes and I see a lot of things, but this home is very, very well kept.
Okay. Now, have you had an opportunity, Deputy Miller, to review some photographs of the home before your testimony today?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
May do so.
Sir, I am showing you what's been identified for State's exhibit for identification purposes in 5 ends, 1 and 2. Now, in terms of the disc here, you've had an opportunity to review what's on that disc?
Yes, sir.
Can you just take a look at that and flip through theirs and just tell me if the photographs there are what was on the disc?
Yes, sir. These are all the same.
And are the photographs here and that are on the disc the same?
Yes, sir.
And are they a fair and accurate depiction of the home there at the address we described earlier? Are they fair and accurate?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I offer State's Exhibit 5 ends, 1 and 2 into evidence.
Any objection?
Judge, the defense has an objection to one of the photos under 90401, 402, and 403.
You have to identify it for me. I need to see
Second
it.
one from the top, I believe, Your Honor.
It's at the top one?
Second one from the top.
That's the one with the brand new picture.
Well, let's not guess.
Judge, that is the one I'm objecting to.
Okay, the items will be admitted into evidence. Madam Clerk, what will it become?
And we space in closet 8A and 8B.
Your Honor, may I publish the photos at this time?
You may do so.
And can you activate the screen, sir?
You ready?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Deputy Miller, we are looking from, and this is for record purposes, a State's Exhibit A, and State's Exhibit 8, and this is Photo A in that exhibit. Can you tell the members of the jury, I know the picture sort of speaks for itself, but can you just, for record purposes, tell us what we're looking at?
This would be 317 Covent Gardens, the front of the house.
All right, and this is the way it appeared, with the exception of maybe the tape in front, this is the way it appeared to you when you pulled up to the scene?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm showing Photo B on this exhibit. Can you tell us what it is we're looking at in this picture and sort of the vantage point? Where would you be standing if taking this photograph?
That would be the view of the inside of the residence from the entryway, the front entry door.
Okay, so this is the front door, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, Deputy Miller, I know we didn't really talk about this for the last couple of minutes that we've been talking. As you stepped into the front door of the home here with the defendant, did you smell anything unusual when you went in the house?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you smell?
To me, it was a very strong, overwhelming odor of a cleaning agent. I associated it with the smell of pine sol.
All right, and as you already testified, you had a conversation with the defendant inside the home. He gave you a statement about sort of the last time he had seen his wife and the circumstances surrounding that, and then he gave you permission to sort of look around the home. As you were walking around the home, did that smell ever dissipate?
No, sir. The odor was very dominant throughout the entire house.
How strong was the odor?
It was quite noticeable. It was almost like an entire bottle had been poured out. I mean, it was a very strong odor.
Did you say anything to the defendant about the smell?
Yes, sir, I did. I'd asked him if perhaps his wife had cleaned the house the night before, and he said he didn't think so. He said there was a mop in the laundry room that from what I recall, he referred to it as a stinky mop. He said that might be the source of the odor. I actually went and checked the mop out also just to see. That wasn't it. The mop was actually dry.
All right. Photo C, tell us what we're looking at here.
I believe this is the living room area that was to the left as you stepped through the front door.
All right. So you walk into the front door and you sort of pan a little bit to the left. That's where this couch in this photo would be?
That's correct. From what I recall, that was the position, and that was the placement for this, yes.
And these items that were on the couch, the laundry basket there, those were there when you were there?
Yes, sir.
All right. And going to photo D, is this a photograph continuing to sort of pan further to the left, showing more of the living room area?
Yes, sir.
And photo E, what is this a picture of?
This would be the kitchen area. And again, another one of the kitchen.
And for the record, this is photo F. And photo G here, what is this?
That was, I think I referred to that as the TV viewing area there. As you walk in the front door, that was if you look into the house, that was the room to the furthest away.
And H, is this more of that TV room area?
Yes, sir.
Photo I, what are we looking at here? Would that be the entrance to the master bedroom?
I'm looking, and yes, I believe so. I think as you walk through that door, that's where the luggage was at to the left, and the doorway to the right as you walk in, I believe, went into the master bathroom.
Okay, let me go back. Let me go back to photo B here, and just to kind of give everybody kind of an idea. Do you see kind of the kitchen area there? If you just kind of kept walking straight from the front door, the kitchen is there on the left-hand side, sort of toward the rear of the home? Is that right?
Sir.
And then the TV area is if you were just walking straight from the front door?
Yes, sir.
In terms of the master bedroom, where would it have been located in reference to this photograph?
From looking at this particular photograph, it looks like if you were to turn right, right where the rear of that one couch is facing you, turn to the right.
So straight forward and you get to that corner of the wall and go left. I mean, I'm sorry,
that
right.
wall, turn right.
Okay. All right, in photo J here, this is the master bedroom?
Yes, sir.
And this is how it appeared to you when you went in it?
Yes, sir.
In photo K, you had mentioned some luggage that was there. Is this the luggage that you were referring to?
It appears so, yes, sir.
And there's some shoes there on the floor by what appears to be a dresser, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And some other bags located at the foot of that chair?
That's correct.
And photo L? These are just some dressers that are in the bedroom?
Yes, sir.
Some items on top? Photo M, just a little bit more of the bedroom, is that correct?
That's correct.
And photo N?
Yeah, that would be on the other side of the bed. I believe it's looking towards the entry door coming into the bedroom.
Okay. And throughout this room, you can see there's personal items on, tables, dressers. As you already pointed out, the luggage, all of that, you see that here in these photographs. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You even see over there on what appears to be a nightstand on the side of the bed, there's a laptop computer on the nightstand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And photo O, what is this of?
That's the entry into the master bathroom.
Okay. And just to kind of back up here, you also see that entry point here in photo N at the far end of the photograph. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Photo P, what are we looking at here?
That would be a shower curtain.
Okay, for the tub and shower area?
Yes, sir.
And there's some clothing articles on the floor?
Yes.
Photo Q?
Inside of the shower, the bathtub area.
All right. Now, you did not take these photographs, is that correct?
No, sir, I did not.
These were taken by somebody sometime after you had released the scene and
Yes, sir.
and other investigators had come to process things, correct?
Correct.
Photo R, this is a picture of the tub, is that correct?
That would be correct.
And photo S,
Yeah, that's going further into the bedroom, just the sink and toilet area.
and photo T, here we're,
Correct.
and this sort of points to, you mentioned the master bedroom was to the right, this would be to the left, correct?
That'd be correct. Yes, it's just a short hallway leading down. 2 bedrooms at the very end of the hallway, from what I recall, one on either side of the hallway.
All right, and there was a bathroom as well?
And there was a bathroom.
Right, and photo U, is this the bathroom?
That'd be correct.
All right, and again, there's toothbrushes, a hair bow, other personal items here on the counter, is that correct?
That's correct.
And photo V, and this is one of the bedrooms,
Yes, sir.
appears to be a young boy's bedroom.
I believe that's correct.
Can you
I
see?
believe at the very end of the hallway, from what I recall, his was to the left and the girl's room was to the right.
Okay. There's a nightstand there by the bed. You see a pair of, I believe, a pair of shoes there on the floor by the nightstand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. And on the other side of the bed appears to be some bins of either books or toys or something like that. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And photo W, is this a picture from the other side of the bed?
Yes, sir. That was one of the school backpacks left up on the bed. And then the closet door there in the background was left open.
Okay. And again, there's clothing items, other personal items that are all still there, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Photo X, what are we looking at here?
That appears to be the girl's bedroom, Talia.
Okay. Again, just like the boys' bedroom, the bed is made?
Yes, sir.
All right. And there's a backpack there as well on the bed?
Yes, there is.
And looks like a large stuffed animal face down on the bed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. You can mute the screen, Your Honor. Thank you. Now, at some point during your interaction with the defendant, did you ask him if he would be willing to write a statement? You'd already kind of testified about what he told you verbally, but did you also ask him if he'd be willing to write a statement essentially relaying the same information about the whereabouts of his wife, when he had last seen her, the circumstances involving that?
Yes, I did.
And was he willing to do that?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And did you give him a form to do that?
Yes, sir, I did. It was a standard Volusia County Sheriff's Office statement form.
Okay, and all he has to do is basically hand write out the statement, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's all.
You want me to approach?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit AAA, triple A. And can you tell, look at that, tell me if you recognize it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that a copy of the written statement that the defendant gave you?
Yes, it is.
And is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time I offer State's triple A for identification to evidence.
No objection.
Without objection, it will be admitted. Madam Clerk, what number is it?
6-9.
Your Honor, may I publish it by having Deputy Miller read it?
You may do so.
Deputy Miller, if you don't mind, would you mind reading the letter out loud for the members of the jury?
It says, I, Louis Alberto Toledo, do hereby freely and voluntarily make the following statement. Around 6 p.m., I had received a call from my wife that she wanted to talk at my mother-in-law's house. We talked and came to agreement about our separation. I left around 9 p.m. and came home. My wife, looks like it should be, then arrived around that time after maybe close to 10 p.m. I then talked to her again, and she said that after speaking to her mom that she wants to remain together. So I then asked her to show me proof and allow me to contact a message on Kevin's phone. But once he called, it was like the same situation, so I left. Drove around for a while and returned to my driveway to collect myself. Then fell asleep and woke up around, it says 8 a.m. here. I believe verbally when I spoke with him before, he'd said he woke up about 7. He woke up around 8 a.m., was upset because my wife didn't wake me up. When I walked inside to let her know that I needed my phone back and that I would be late for work, I noticed that she was not present, nor were the kids. I went to their room to check if their bags were gone and noticed that they were still in their rooms. Then got me upset because I now wondered why weren't the kids at school, and I know she had mentioned about being home today. I then just took a shower, got dressed, and went to work. I had to turn around because I had no gas and knew that I could not make it to school and back home after work. I then noticed the sheriff and my mother-in-law parked at my residence. When I pulled up, I was asked where was my wife. I said I didn't know. And then he signed both pages.
So according to the statement, Deputy Miller, he said that while he was at his mother-in-law's house the night before, that he had talked to his wife and they had an agreement about their separation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And he says that he left his mother-in-law's house around 9 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
And came home, and his wife came to the home about an hour later at 10 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then they, according to the statement, had a conversation, decided to stay together.
Yes.
And then he wanted her to show him proof and allow him to contact a message on a person by the name of Kevin's phone. But once there was a call and a conversation, he said it was the same situation.
Yes.
And then he left.
Yes.
And he came home and he fell asleep in the driveway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he didn't wake up until 8 a.m.
That's right.
And then when he woke up, he didn't find his wife or the kids in the home, correct?
That is correct.
And then he says when he was asked when you or the mother-in-law got there where they were, he said he didn't know.
That is correct.
Now, while you were there on scene, did you become aware of an incident that occurred between the defendant and Yesenia Suarez's wife the day before in Lake Mary?
Yes, sir.
And did you do anything in relation to that, obtaining that information?
Well, while I was there, I recalled hearing a call come out over the radio the day prior asking Sheriff's Office to do a well-being check or do extra patrols in the area as a result of a request that had come from Lake Mary Police Department.
Okay, but in response to getting the information that there had been an incident at the job site, what did you do? Did you check on anything at that particular point in time in terms of if there was any need to?
On the day that I first heard about the well-being check?
No, on the day that you were there at the home.
When I was there at the home, yes, I had our dispatch contact Lake Mary Police Department and confirm with them if they had any charges or if they wanted to speak with Mr. Toledo at all.
And did you receive word back that they did want you to hold him there?
Yes, the message came back through our dispatch, who in turn related to me to detain Mr. Toledo, and they did in fact have charges.
And so, and somebody came there and placed him under arrest at that particular point in time, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I can't recall how long it was, but it wasn't much longer later that a Lake Mary police officer did arrive and put Mr. Toledo into custody.
Okay. And we've kind of been talking as if all of this happened within a few minutes. You were there on scene with the defendant for a few hours before that occurred, is that correct?
It was probably, I would say, at least an hour. Yes, sir.
Okay. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Have those questions.
All right, any cross-examination?
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Good afternoon, Deputy.
Good afternoon.
You stated that you were the first law enforcement officer to arrive at 317 Covent Gardens, correct?
That is correct.
And you arrived around 9:43 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Right. Shortly after you arrived, you stated that Deputy Jason Paul, Deputy Garrett Morgus, and I guess it was Sergeant Christopher Rago arrived.
That is correct.
And they probably arrived within 15 minutes after you arrived.
That's probably accurate, yes.
And when you went into the residence with Mr. Toledo, did other officers come into residence after you?
After me, at some point in time, yes, sir.
Right. And when you went into the residence, did you first walk through the residence with Mr. Toledo?
Yes, I did.
Just to make sure everything was okay?
Yes.
Basically part of your training to clear a house before you go in?
Well, looking for the people in question here, the family.
And this is a well-being check at this time?
Yes, sir.
This is not a criminal investigation?
No, sir, not at all.
Right. So at this time, Mr. Toledo is free to leave if he wanted to?
Initially, he was.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that. Okay. Now, when Mr. Toledo arrived, Ms. Perez was outside, and it was your idea to take Mr. Toledo inside because she was very emotional, and she confronted him. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right. So you separated the two, and you said to him, let's go inside, and you went inside?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, Inside the house, you said you've been to a lot of houses in your years as a deputy. It was well kept. We saw pictures of it.
Yes.
And he said the only two things out of the ordinary were the beds and the backpacks and the closet doors.
Yes.
Now, the luggage that we saw, okay, you don't know when that luggage was placed there or what purpose it was placed there for.
I did question Mr. Toledo about the luggage, and his response was that his wife had been on a business trip of some sort, and she had returned recently.
Earlier that month in October.
That's correct.
Now, the odor of, you said pine saw, you said it was pretty strong throughout the house, but you couldn't pinpoint where it emanated from, could you, or where it started from?
No, sir, I could not.
And did you also notice in the house that there were electric air fresheners plugged in and running throughout the house?
I do recall seeing one, yes.
And that was in the kitchen?
I believe the one I saw was in the TV room.
Possibly there were more than one running in the house.
It's quite possible.
Now, when you went and looked at the mop, you said, and the mop was dry and the bucket was dry, that the mop was in, correct?
I remember the mop being dry. I don't recall a bucket.
And correct me if I'm wrong, most of the house is tile floors, correct?
I believe so.
Right. And there was no standing water on any of the floors that you observed?
No, sir.
You went through the garage, and the garage, nothing looked out of the ordinary in the garage?
No, sir, nothing.
Now, you mentioned the Lake Mary incident from the day before. You took it upon yourself to contact dispatch regarding the Lake Mary incident, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you were told basically to hold Mr. Toledo and don't let him leave.
Yes.
And it was after you got that information from dispatch to hold him is when you had him write his statement on the couch.
May we approach? We approach.
Yeah.
Deputy, do you remember the question I just asked?
Yes, sir.
Do you want me to rephrase it or ask it again?
No, I think I can, and to be accurate about it, I don't recall if I asked him to write it before or after.
Okay. So now when he's writing the statement on his couch, there are other law enforcement officers inside the house with you, correct?
Yes, sir, they did show up.
And it was a Lake Mary police officer who came and arrested him later on that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you didn't put him in handcuffs, and you did not put him in your patrol car or take him to the Volusia County Jail?
I did not.
All right. He went with a Lake Mary police officer?
That is correct.
So when you initially arrived at the house, it was not a criminal investigation, he was not under arrest?
No, sir, not initially.
Okay. Now, you never read him any Miranda warnings while he was in the residence with you, did you?
No, sir, I had no need to.
But you were aware that he was a suspect in a criminal investigation out of Seminole County?
Yes, sir.
Judge, may I have a moment?
Yes, sir.
Deputy, there was a discrepancy on Mr. Toledo's statement that he wrote where he said he arrived home at 8 a.m. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that he told you verbally it was 7 a.m. Correct?
Yes, sir.
After he completed his statement, you signed that statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. And you did not ask him to change it. Did you read it over to make sure it was correct?
I read through it. I was not going to ask him to change it. That's what he put down.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
May the witness be excused.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you, sir.
Why don't we take a very short break, about 10 minutes, okay? Just stay.
You solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Very well. Take a seat. A witness has been sworn. Make sure you speak closely to the microphone so that yours can hear what you have to say.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Very well. Take a seat. A witness has been sworn. Make sure you speak closely to the microphone so that yours can hear what you have to say.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, I'm Detective Jason Robert Paul with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office.
And
At this time, the defense would object to this witness and his testimony based on our pretrial motion.
Okay, we've had a previous meeting about this. You may proceed. The objection will be overruled.
thank you, Judge. Detective, you indicated you work for the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. How long have you worked for them?
5 years, sir.
All right. And do you have any prior law enforcement experience?
Yes, sir, I do.
And where was that?
With the Florida Highway Patrol, I worked for them for 11 years prior to this.
What are your duties with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office?
At this time, I am a detective with the Property Crimes Unit assigned to the city of Deltona.
And what previous duties did you have?
Previous duties was patrol. I was a patrol deputy, and that was answering calls for service and routine patrol enforcement.
All right, thank you, sir. Were you working in a patrol capacity specifically on October the 23rd of 2013?
Yes, sir.
And on that date, did you respond to a home located at 317 Covent Gardens Place in Deltona?
Yes.
And why did you respond to the house?
I responded because a deputy that was already on scene had requested for a routine backup.
All right. And who was that deputy?
That was Deputy Wayne Miller.
What was your understanding of the reason that Deputy Miller initially responded to the residents?
He initially responded to residents for a well-being check.
All right. And approximately what time did you arrive at the house?
It was approximately 9:50 a.m.
And did other deputies also respond to Deputy Miller's request for backup?
Yes.
And do you recall, who were those other deputies?
Deputy Garrett Morse and Sergeant Chris Rigo.
All right. And do you recall who arrived first and after Deputy Miller?
When I arrived, the other two deputies were already on scene. I don't remember who arrived first.
Okay. When you arrived there on the scene, other than the deputies, did you see anyone else?
Yes, I did.
And who was that?
I saw a lady that was standing out in front of the house and a gentleman inside the house where the front door was open.
Okay. And the lady that you saw outside, where did you see her?
She was standing next to her car parked in front of the house.
All right. And was that Felicia Perez?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the person that you said, the male that you said you saw inside the home, was that Luis Toledo?
Yes, sir, it was.
Now, without repeating anything that she may have said, what observations did you make concerning Ms. Perez's demeanor?
Ms. Perez appeared angry. She was screaming, crying, upset.
Okay. And yes or no, did you talk to her?
Yes.
And did she explain to you, again, yes or no, did she explain to you why she was upset?
Yes.
All right. What did you do after you spoke to Mrs. Perez?
Eventually, one of the deputies inside the house had gained consent to
searched the house with Mr. Toledo in order to look for Ms. Suarez and the children.
Okay. And did you assist in that?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Now, did you go through the front door of the home?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Now, as you were entering through the front door of the home, did you notice anything unusual?
Yes, I did.
And what did you notice?
When I walked through the threshold of the front door, I noticed a very strong odor of some sort of like a cleaning agent or a deodorized cleaning agent.
Okay. And could you be more specific about what it is you were smelling? Was it bleach? Was it something else? And if so, can you describe that?
I'm positive it wasn't bleach. It didn't have the very pungent odor of a bleach smell, but more of like a deodorized chemical cleaning agent, some sort of like a cleaning agent.
Okay. Now, in terms of how strong was the smell?
It was very noticeable upon approaching the front door.
Okay. And did you look through all the rooms in the house?
No, sir, I did not.
Which rooms did you look through?
I looked through the children's rooms, the kitchen, dining room, and the living room.
Okay. And as you were, the portions of the house that you were walking through, did you notice personal belongings that remained inside the home?
I noticed that there were backpacks in the kids' rooms laying on the bed. Outside of that, it was the house appeared just normal.
Okay. Did it appear that anything had sort of been boxed up as if somebody was going to move out of the house?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
You said you went into the children's rooms?
Yes.
Do you still see clothes hanging in the closet?
Yes.
Personal items on the bed?
Yes.
Toys, stuffed animals?
Yes.
And you said you did not go into the master bedroom or master bathroom, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, at some point, did you secure the house in order for it to be processed for further evidence?
Yes, I did.
And at some point in time, just to kind of maybe back up just a little bit, was the defendant, Mr. Toledo, arrested and removed from the scene?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And just in terms of time frame, now we're sitting here talking as though, minutes. You were there for a few hours, correct, before that occurred?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, in terms of securing the house in order for it to be processed for further evidence, what did you do in that regard?
We put up crime scene tape to make sure there was no, any other person not involved in the investigation had access to the house. And I kept a crime scene log. Basically, it's a piece of paper indicating who all crossed over into the crime scene.
Okay, to kind of keep track who comes in, who
Yes, sir.
comes into the scene, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you never spoke to the defendant himself, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, I want to take you to maybe step back in time a little bit. At some point in time while you were there, and you understood this is a welfare check, correct?
Yes.
And more specifically, it was, Mrs. Perez and the deputies who responded that were looking into the whereabouts of Yesenia Suarez and her two young children. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, while you were there, again, taking a step back in time, did you earlier upon your arrival there conduct a neighborhood canvass?
Yes, we did.
All right. And can you just, for those who may not know what that is, kind of describe what a neighborhood canvass is?
Basically, it's an attempt to contact possible witnesses in the area. A neighborhood canvass would be going door to door, knocking on the door to see if they can contact the residents there. Did you hear anything? Did you see anything? Did you notice anything during the time in question? They may have witnessed something and not realized it.
Okay. And what areas did you cover? What houses, what doors did you knock on? Do you recall?
Yes, there's the houses on either side of Mr. Toledo's residence and the houses directly across the street and catty corner from Mr. Toledo's residence.
Okay. And at the time you did the neighborhood canvass, the defendant, Luis Toledo, was still there at the house. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when you went through and knocked on those doors, you actually talked to people. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did anybody indicate to you that they knew or seen anything unusual?
No, sir. They did not.
All right. Now, as we had kind of already talked about, at some point in time, several hours after you had arrived on scene, the defendant was arrested and taken away from the home. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And away from the scene itself?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, after that occurred, did anyone come forward and tell you that they did have some information? I don't want to get into what they told you, but yes or no, did somebody come forward and say they did have some information they needed to share?
Yes, sir.
All right. Who was that?
It was a resident that lived directly to the left of Mr. Toledo's residence, looking at the front door.
And do you recall the name of that person?
No, I remember the other resident that lived in there, but I don't remember the name of the woman that approached me.
Okay, so it was a woman that approached you?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the other, and did she tell you that she was the one that had the information or somebody else?
Somebody else, sir.
All right. And who is the person that she indicated had some information that they needed to share with you?
Her son, Tayshawn Jackson.
Tyshawn Jackson?
Tayshawn, excuse me.
And did you go and talk to Tyshawn Jackson?
Yes, I did.
And where did you go and talk to him?
Inside their house. We sat down at the kitchen table.
And do you recall how old Mr. Jackson was when you talked to him?
Yeah, approximately in his 20s, early 20s.
What was his demeanor when you talked to him?
He appeared very nervous and scared.
Okay. Did he give you information relevant to the case?
Yes, he did.
All right. Now, to kind of back up, had you made contact with him during your neighborhood canvass?
Yes, I did.
And did he provide any information to you at that time?
No, he did not.
Now, when the mother came and got you and said he had this information, and you went and sat down and talked to him, did he explain why he didn't say anything before?
Yes, he did.
And what was that?
He said that
Sustained.
Now, the information that he provided to you, did you relay that to your supervising officer?
Yes, I did.
And just to be clear, when you spoke to Mr. Jackson, were you just simply getting whatever information that you could, or were you conducting a full-blown interview?
No, I was just getting just basic information. I didn't have no idea what he was trying to tell me at that time, so it was just a basic synopsis of what he had to say.
Okay. And so you relayed that information to your supervising officer so somebody could follow up and actually interview him, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you weren't the one that actually conducted the formal interview?
Correct.
All right. Your Honor, we need to approach about something.
Okay. And just for the record, I should have said this. We've had a proffer and before, so my ruling will stand based upon the proffer. Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Paul, and moving forward, at some point in time, were you approached by someone in the neighborhood with regard to an item, an article that had been found in the area of the home that we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
And
At this time, the defense would object based on our previous arguments this week and the previous motion.
Court ruling will stand. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And without getting any kind of description of the item, physical description, well, first let me ask you, who was it that approached you with regard to something that had been found?
It was a young child who had just gotten off the bus on her way home from school.
Okay, and walking home from the bus, she had found this article?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, without getting into a physical description, what was the item that she found?
It was a knife.
Now, you also, while you were there on the scene, you also contacted the school that the children, Michael and Talia Otto, went to, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose that you called the school?
Just to see if they made it to school. Again, we're trying to locate them. One of the options was to, hey, check the school to see if maybe they showed up or if they were dropped off.
Okay, and what were the results of that effort?
They were never showed up to school.
Okay. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
And Detective, with regard to the knife that we were talking about, the young girl that found the knife, she turned that knife over to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and when you did that, you were wearing gloves and collected it and following appropriate evidentiary protocols?
Yes, sir. It was placed in an evidence bag.
All right, and that was turned over to a crime scene investigator?
Yes, sir.
All right, nothing further, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, Judge, thank you. Good afternoon, Deputy.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, when you arrived at the residence, Mr. Toledo, was he still outside with Deputy Miller when you arrived and they were going into the house?
He was inside the house.
He was already there?
Yes, sir.
Right. And how long did you stay outside before you entered the house?
I don't remember.
Right. When you went in the house, you went to clear several rooms?
Yes, sir.
Right. Did you hear any conversation between Deputy Miller and Mr. Toledo about going inside the house?
No, sir, I did not.
Right. And when you arrived, was Mr. Toledo with Ms. Perez outside?
No, sir.
Now, the odor you said you smelled when you went into the threshold of the house.
Yes, sir.
You said it didn't smell like bleach, it was more like a deodorized cleaner?
Like a cleaning agent, yes, sir.
Cleaning agent. Do you recall whether or not it had a flowery smell to it?
I couldn't tell you if it was a flower or not. It was deodorized.
Okay. Would looking at a previous statement you gave under oath help refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Referring to his deposition, page 8, line 17 through 22. Judge, may I approach the witness?
May we do so?
Please read page 8, line 17 through 22.
112.
Yourself, and see if it refreshes your recollection.
Yes, sir.
Deputy, after reading your previous statement under oath, has that refreshed your recollection?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall telling me that it had a flowery smell to it?
Yes, sir.
And you couldn't pinpoint where this smell came from or where its origins were, could you?
Correct.
Okay. Your crime scene log, while you were there, and you were there for about a couple hours,
Yes, sir.
there was you, Deputy Miller, Deputy Morris, Sergeant Rigo, and Mr. Toledo inside the house at some point.
Yes, sir.
Right. Did any other law enforcement officers come in and out of the house while you were there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who would that be?
I couldn't tell you who all went inside the house.
Major crimes?
Yeah, other investigators.
Other investigators, a Lake Mary police officer?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And the young lady who brought you the knife, she was walking up towards you when you saw her?
Yes, sir.
Right, so her bus stop was somewhere else, and she got off the bus and then walked over to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was around 2:30 when school got out?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Just very quickly. Detective Paul, you were asked some questions about the smell That the flowery smell. You still describe that as a cleaning agent, correct?
Yes, sir.
No other questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any recross?
No recross.
All right, thank you. May the witness be excused.
I'm going to actually retain him, Judge, but he can go about his way.
Okay, you're subject to the subpoena. You have to return to the courthouse if summoned. Thank you. The state called your next witness.
State calls Investigator Josh Mott.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you. Have a seat. Make sure you speak loud and clearly into the microphone so they can hear what you have to say.
Thank you, sir.
May proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Could you tell us your name, please?
My name is Joshua Mott.
And what do you do for a living?
For the past 14 years, I've been a deputy sheriff at the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. The most recent 8 of those years, I've been a crime scene investigator. That's my current assignment.
Could you tell us what a crime scene investigator does with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, please?
Sure, it's my job to be responsible for the physical evidence. And by that, I mean to photograph it, to find it, to photograph it, preserve it in such a way that we can bring it to a courtroom.
Okay. Were you working on October 23rd, 2013?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and were you called to the location of 317 Covent Gardens to find, preserve, and document physical evidence associated with that scene?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay. Were you the lead crime scene investigator for the investigation that was initiated at that location?
Yes, sir, I was.
How many other crime scene investigators are there within the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, or were there back in October of 13?
Approximately 8, I believe.
Okay. And did all of those individuals work under you?
They're peers of mine.
Well, on that scene, you were lead, right?
Yes, sir. In that scene, they're working in my direction.
Okay. Whether they were older or younger, they were working at your direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you supervise their work during that time?
Yes, sir.
And did you supervise not only what they did, but then what they found and how it was processed later?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In your career, Investigator Mott, how many homicide scenes have you worked?
Approximately 40.
Okay, and of those 40, how many were you lead investigator?
Around a quarter of them.
Okay. Tell us how it is that a crime scene investigator gets involved in a case such as this. I mean, you're not the first person on scene, right?
No, sir, I'm not a first responder to it. I'm an investigative support. And so once the investigation starts unfolding, they determine what resources are needed in order to carry it further.
Who makes that determination?
My supervisor, or the person in charge of the investigations unit.
Okay, and that would be the sergeant of the investigations unit?
Yes, sir.
Was that an individual named Pat Toman in October of 2013?
Yes, it was.
Did you receive a call from Pat Toman in the afternoon of October 23rd, 2013?
Yes, I did.
At that point, did Sergeant Toman, did Sergeant Toman inform you that there was a missing persons case that had been initiated from that residence?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did you have any initial information going to the scene that day other than some folks were missing?
I was told that a mother and 2 small children were missing.
Okay. Now, to be clear, you've never had any contact with Luis Toledo?
I have.
Well, I'm sorry, you've never interviewed Luis Toledo?
That's correct. I've never.
You may have had some contact with him, and we'll get to that in a while, but you've never conducted an interview with him. That's not within your job description.
That's absolutely right.
Okay. What was the substance of the first call that you received in this particular case?
My first involvement in this case was at the direction of Sergeant Tillman to respond to a location in Seminole County where the mother's car was located for the purpose of trying to find if there was a cell phone in it.
Okay. I want to talk with you a little bit more about that. Give me just a moment to set up my laptop here. Okay, so you told us a moment ago that there was some information about a vehicle being located in Seminole County. Can you give us the specifics on that location?
It was a Publix. It was a parking lot of the Publix.
Okay, and what particular vehicle had been located?
A black Honda Accord.
And were you aware, either by firsthand information or information received from your sergeant, that that vehicle was registered to Yesenia Suarez?
Yes, that's what I was told.
And at that point, did you know that Yesenia Suarez was the individual that was missing in this case, as well as her children?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you arrived over in Seminole County, did you in fact find that vehicle in a Publix parking lot?
Yes, as it was being guarded by uniformed police officers who had originally found it.
Right, I didn't mean to imply that you had found it, that someone else had located it, and was that vehicle secure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the state of the vehicle when you arrived, please.
Parked in a parking space on the east side of the parking lot.
Okay, anything noticeable about the vehicle itself?
Its condition as in how it's, can you elaborate?
Just the exterior, how it was locked, whether it was closed or open, just your initial observations.
Nothing that stands out.
Okay. Were the doors closed on the vehicle?
The doors were, yes.
Was the trunk open?
I believe the trunk may have been ajar.
Okay. Did you learn that before you arrived on scene that another law enforcement officer had opened the trunk and looked to make sure that there was no one in the trunk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When arriving on scene, if you could, please tell us what you did with respect to this vehicle, and then we'll take a look at some photographs associated with it.
I was going to say I took photographs of it as I found it, and in looking in the windows, I noticed a purse was lying on the front passenger seat, so I assumed that would be a location I might find the cell phone, so I started there. And in looking in that, I found an identification for Ms. Suarez. However, not the cell phone. So as I continued to look for the phone, I found it under the left side of the driver's seat.
Okay. And once you located that cellular telephone, what did you do with it?
I took it out from its position where it was so I could get a better look and take another photograph of it. And then it was turned over for analysis to other investigators.
So it was secured for safekeeping and then analyzed forensically by someone within Volusia County Sheriff's Office?
That's correct.
Okay. If I can have a moment, defense is looking at the photographs.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Mott, in anticipation of your testimony here in court today, did you review some crime scene photographs and photographs associated with this case that were taken by you and a couple of diagrams that were either prepared by you or someone working with you?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, I'm approaching with what's been marked State's Exhibit, well, 5 O's, 1 and 2. You recognize State's Exhibit 5 O's 1.
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that a diagram, or is that a CD containing your name and your signature?
Yes, it is.
And on that, have you reviewed that CD today in anticipation of your trial testimony?
Yes, sir, I did.
Does it contain the photographs that have been printed and are before you now as State's Exhibit 5O's number 2?
State's Exhibit 5O's is a printed out version of photos that I took, which are contained in a PowerPoint on this disk.
Thank you, sir. Judge, if there are no, or subject to the objections already raised by defense, State would move 5O's 1 and 2 into evidence as case next and publish on the screens when appropriate.
Okay, subject to our discussions, that sidebar will be admitted.
Thank you, sir.
The state's composite 10A and 10B.
Judge, would you make the screen available to us, please? Thank you, sir. Okay, Investigator Mott, we were talking a moment ago before you reviewed the photographs about the vehicle, the black Honda Accord that you found over in Seminole County, or that was located by law enforcement, and your actions therewith. I'm showing you what's been marked, and for reference in the record, all of the photographs that we'll talk about now are part of State's Exhibit 10. With respect to the photograph before you now, we're talking about A, letter A. Describe to us what you see here. Is this the car?
Yes, sir, this is the black Honda that I took a picture of at the Publix parking lot there in Seminole County.
And I believe you noted before that the trunk was ajar. You see that it is in this photograph as well.
Yes, sir, that's true.
Okay. You said that you conducted an internal search of the vehicle and found a woman's purse with an ID badge or a form of identification. Is this the person identification?
Yes, sir, this is.
And the photograph has some glare on it. Is that an American K-9 identification badge with the name and photograph of Yesenia Suarez?
Exactly.
Okay. Closer photograph of the same exhibit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm moved on now to D. Tell us what we see here.
This is looking down into the driver's area, and the purpose of this photo is to show the placement of the cell phone, which you can see in between the seat and the edge of the car, and it's contained in a black case.
Is it the small black thing with the little white circle on it? Is that what we're
Yes,
talking
sir.
about?
It's at right where the seat belt connects into the seat, right beneath there.
Okay.
And this is a close-up of that same.
E is a close-up of that same photograph?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you explain to us what F is, please?
Here I have removed it from its position and laid it out so we can get a better look at it.
Okay. And
so this is the case and an ID card that was with it that I left in the car after I turned the phone over for analysis.
And this is after you've secured the phone for additional analysis. You left the rest inside the vehicle.
Exactly.
Okay. Was that the end of your involvement with this particular vehicle?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Was the vehicle then secured and towed for later analysis by law enforcement?
Yes, it was.
Later in the day, around 6:20 in the evening, were you asked to respond to 317 Covent Gardens in an effort to search the home of Yesenia Suarez in Luis Toledo?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay. At the time that you responded to that location, you were aware that the vehicle had already been found, obviously.
This vehicle, yes, sir.
Yes, the wife's vehicle. Were you then, or have you since become aware that one of the first deputies on scene found what they believed to be a small spot of blood in the master bathroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As a crime scene investigator, what was your thought process as you approached the home and then ultimately went into the home to conduct an investigation?
Well, my primary purpose there being to preserve what we see for all of our benefit here, and so photography was my first approach, my first step, my first action.
Okay, so let's start on the outside. And you did take these photographs, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, let's start with State's Exhibit 10G here.
This is a photograph of me standing in the street in Covent Gardens facing the house.
Okay. I know that there's crime scene tape already up, so law enforcement has in fact been there and secured the residence.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what 10H is, please.
This is a diagram generated by one of my coworkers that is meant to give us a bird's eye view, if you will, of the layout of the house.
Okay.
some of the items within it.
The photographs, as you proceed into the home, how are they oriented? Do you start at the front door and then move in a particular fashion through the home?
As we'll see through the sequence, when I go through the front door of the house, I'm going to bear to the left, and then I continue that path around to the left as we make our way all the way through the house.
State's eye of 10.
So this is me standing at the threshold of the front door, giving a perspective of what it looks like as we look into the front door. There's a sitting area or an initial living room area on our left, and then another living room or more of a family room straight ahead to the back. And then the incomplete height walls are boxing in the kitchen. A couple bedrooms are to our left. The master bedroom is to our right. The garage is to our right. The master bathroom then is, of course, to our right.
You've told us that your first priority is photographing the scene. Are you also making mental notes about the things that you see for later in your investigation?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was there anything in the front room that caught your attention and caused you to be suspicious about what had occurred in the home, or to warrant any follow-up investigation as it related to this front room?
What jumped out at me about the front room was the rug that we can see a small bit of it here and more in a later photograph.
States J.
In that it seemed like there was some kind of a coffee table missing.
Objection, speculation.
Sustain. You can rephrase the question.
Investigator Mott, this was the state of the home when you found it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing moved by earlier investigators or detectives or patrol officers as they came into the scene, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. In fact, they know not to do that in this type of case, right?
Their job is to secure it.
Okay. Photograph K just is moving around the front room, is that correct?
Right, this is just a little bit further to the left from the previous photo, all the way till we've reached the wall.
Okay, and photograph L looks down that hall that you described that leads back to the children's bedrooms?
Yes, sir. This is a guest bathroom, or the children's bathroom, which is on the left of that hallway before you reach the bedrooms.
Okay, now I'd like to stop with you and talk about some of the investigation that occurred with respect to each of these rooms as we go through it. In the children's bathroom, what occurred with respect to this bathroom and items of significance found within this bathroom?
For us, a large part of the, or almost the total significance of this bathroom is that it's a source of secondary DNA standards for the children.
Explain to us what that means.
In that these folks were missing, we needed to try to find some source in a known or reasonably known way which would give us a standard for their DNA. So something that we knew or reasonably should have their DNA on it. And so what I mean here are things like your toothbrush, their toothbrush, things like that that you come in contact with and you come in contact with exclusively. So it should have only your DNA on it.
Okay, and you collected items of significance such as the toothbrush in the home in an effort to conduct further forensic testing, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Investigator Mott, I'm approaching with what's been marked II and JJ. Do you recognize these items by their outer container and the writings thereon?
Yes, sir, I do. II is a package that I created that contains a boy's toothbrush. I recognize it because it features a label that I created, and then also an evidence seal that I placed with my initials, my ID number, and the date that I sealed it. The same is true of JJ in that it's a toothbrush as well from that same bathroom, and I recognize it in the same manner.
Well, placed before you CC and DD. We'll come back and talk about those in a moment. But Judge, if there are no objections at this time, state will move II and JJ into evidence of state's next.
No objection.
Without objection, they will be admitted. Number?
Is states 11 and JJ is states 12.
Okay, while we're in the bathroom, I'd like to move over to picture N. Obviously, we see a toilet in this photograph, but I want to draw your attention to the trash receptacle there. Was there something found within the trash receptacle?
Yes, so there was a gauze square in there, which featured blood on it that we later learned was the boy's blood.
Okay. And do you recognize CCC and DDD there before you?
Yes, sir, I do. They are packages I created. It features the gauze that I described, and I recognize it in the same manner I described the previous packages, with my initials on the evidence seal and a label that I created.
Judge, if there are no objections at this point, state we move CCC and DDD and evidence is next.
Okay.
No objection.
That objection will be admitted.
Investigator Mott, I'm not going to open those packages, but I would like you to kind of give us a description of those items after the clerk has an opportunity to announce the numbers.
3C is states 13 and 3D is states 14.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you describe for us the items contained within those packages?
It's a small section of gauze like you would use in any kind of first aid kit if you were to render aid to a seemingly minor injury, like a scrape or something like that.
Okay, and in fact, the blood on it is incredibly small. It's not much.
Correct.
And so it's not necessarily even something associated with this case, except for the ultimate DNA analysis confirmed that it was Michael Elijah Otto's blood.
That's correct.
Okay. And just so the jury's not misled, there's no belief that this was associated with their death.
We do not believe, that's correct. We do not believe this to be significant to the investigation otherwise.
Showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit O.
Yes, sir. This is the medicine cabinet within that bathroom, the inside of it.
Okay. More toothbrushes.
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to turn your attention to State's Exhibit P.
Yes, sir. This is a photograph of the boys' bedroom that is immediately adjacent that bathroom we were just in, and this is looking into it from the hallway.
Okay. Anything about this particular bedroom that you wanted to follow up in your investigation caused you concern that it may be a scene of violence within the home?
No, sir.
Okay. Investigator Mott, I would like to turn your attention to the dresser there. Are those trophies on,
yes, sir.
On the dresser?
Yes.
Okay, so those would be the little boy's trophies for the person who lived in that room?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you also find a significant number of family photos within the home and other keepsakes that the individuals associated with this home would like to have?
I did.
Okay. None of those items have been packed up and were obviously missing from the home, were they?
It did not appear so.
Photograph Q.
Photograph Q, I have panned to the right slightly from the previous photo so we can get a better overall view of the room.
Photograph R.
Photograph R is of the closet within that same bedroom.
Anything particularly notable about the closet?
There was a lot of things in it, a lot of normal things you would find in a boy's closet.
Not a lot of empty hangers, right?
No, sir.
Not like somebody just packed up quickly and left.
Agreed. And now in this photograph S, I'm on the other side of the bedroom looking out. So now we have context as to where that closet was as it relates to the room.
We can see the boy's backpack on the bed and even some of the trophies there on the nightstand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Turn your attention to photograph T.
Yes, sir. Photograph T is a photograph of the girls' bedroom, which is opposite the hallway from the boys' bedroom. And this is looking into it from the perspective of the hallway.
Anything about this bedroom that led you to believe that it was a scene of violence within the home?
No, sir, there was not.
Okay, and let me make the point that even though you didn't believe it was a scene of violence, that you still conduct a thorough investigation in each of these rooms?
Yes, sir.
The proper bolstering.
Overruled, but try not to lead.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, now as it turns to photograph U.
This is a photograph of that same girl's bedroom, just slightly to the right from the previous view.
Okay. Photograph V.
Photograph V is to the left from the previous two photos, and it features the closet in that bedroom.
Okay. Did you find any empty, or a significant number of empty hangers within the closet?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you find empty drawers when you opened the drawers?
No, sir.
Photograph W?
Photograph W is to the right from the previous photo, and it shows the armoire that we could see from some of the previous photos as we were looking into this room.
The items attached to the mirror there in the lower right and left corners, what are those?
They're photographs.
Photograph X?
In photograph X, we see the living room that is towards the back of the residence that I described previously, and you can see a little bit of the kitchen on the left.
Anything about this room that led you to believe that it may have been the scene of violence within the home?
No, sir.
Did you find any items that had been broken, any shattered glass, anything like that?
No, sir.
Photograph Y?
In photograph Y, I've panned to the right more from the previous photo to capture more of the items in that same back living room, such as the entertainment center.
Photograph Z?
Photograph Z, we're in the kitchen. This is from the perspective of that living room we were just in, so we're looking into the kitchen.
Anything particularly notable about the room of the kitchen as it related to violence within the home?
No, sir.
Should we approach?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Investigator Mott, we've turned to photograph AA. Anything particularly amiss in this scene as it relates to this portion of the room?
No, sir.
Photograph BB, what part of the house is this?
This is that back living room?
Just a different angle than we saw before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Photograph CC?
In photograph CC, I'm standing in that back living room. Now I've turned to the right more so such that I can see the entrance to the master bedroom directly at the top of the photo and the entrance to the garage on the right side of the photo.
Is that where, in the bottom right corner, is that where the tile goes, is out to the garage?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Photograph DD?
In photograph DD, I've just panned upward from the previous photo.
Okay. In photograph DD, I note that there's a closet that you can see through to the master bedroom. Did you find a large number of empty hangers anywhere in this closet?
No, sir.
Okay. For men's or women's clothing?
For neither.
Okay. And did it appear to have both adult men and women clothing within this closet?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Photograph EE?
In photograph EE, I've taken another step or two forward from the previous photo.
Photograph FF?
This photograph is taken from within the master bedroom to the left from the previous photo.
Within the master bedroom, did you also find keepsakes, photographs, things that people would tend to keep in their home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you find any empty drawers?
No, sir.
Okay. Photograph GG?
In photograph GG, I've panned to the right slightly from the previous photo. You can still see the armoire on your left and now an additional large piece of furniture.
Okay. Photograph HH?
In photograph HH, we can see the inside of that large piece of furniture, which has television, video game systems, and VCR and whatnot.
Did the video game systems ultimately become something that warranted further investigation in this case?
Yes, sir. They were later collected and examined for fingerprints, as I was informed that there was information that the neighbor had been playing them, and we were looking to explore that.
Photograph II?
II provides an overview of the bedroom. This is roughly from the perspective of the doorway.
Okay. In the lower left of photograph II, what's sitting in the seated portion of the chair?
There's a purple piece of luggage.
Photograph JJ?
JJ is a closer perspective of the closet that we spoke about a few photos ago.
Okay. Photograph KK.
KK is now standing in front of the chair with the piece of luggage in it, looking towards the ground.
Photograph LL.
And this is backed slightly from the previous photo so that we can now see the luggage sitting in the chair with the Orlando International luggage tag on it.
Okay, did the piece of luggage have clothing within it still?
Yes, sir.
Men's or women's clothes?
Women's.
Women's?
Women's.
Photograph MM.
Photograph MM is the far side of the bedroom from as it relates to the doorway leading into it. So this is to my left as the photographer is that large piece of entertainment center that had the video game console in it.
Photograph NN.
NN is roughly the opposite of that in that I'm on the other side of the bedroom. So behind me is that chair with the purple luggage in it.
I note in photograph NN there are at least several portable devices. It appears to be a tablet and a laptop.
Yes, sir.
Were the electronics in this home seized and seized and secured for later search by law enforcement personnel?
Yes, sir, they were.
Photograph 00.
From this perspective, I'm now back on the other side of the bed from the previous photo, looking across it so that we can see the entranceway, the white door that we see part of. That's the doorway leading to the rest of the house. And roughly the center at the top where there's kind of a light, that's the master bathroom.
Photograph PP.
This is a desk, which is along the wall that comprises the outside of the master closet, if you will. So now I'm standing back in the area such that that chair with the luggage is behind me in this photo.
I note the presence of several notebooks prominently placed on the desk. Were those notebooks secured and examined by law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
QQ.
This perspective is looking into the master bathroom from that hallway. So on my left is the entrance to the closet, and to my right is the doorway that leads to the rest of the house.
RR.
Now from standing within the bathroom, taking a picture of the ground such that you can see the doorway leading out to the bedroom on the right side there where you can see carpet.
Notice a black curtain there hanging in the top portion of the photograph. Is that for the bathtub?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. SS.
SS is a photograph looking at the upper portion of this shower stall.
TT.
TT is now looking down from the previous photo, looking into the tub.
Upon an initial visual examination, was there anything particularly interesting about the tub and its surroundings as it relates to the curtain?
The first thing that jumped out to me was that the black curtain was more of an aesthetic curtain, so it wasn't a moisture barrier of any sort, so it seemed as if this was missing its liner.
There was no clear plastic liner associated with this particular curtain?
Not found inside the home, no.
Was it later found outside the home?
A clear shower plastic liner was found inside the trash can outside the home.
Okay, we'll come back around to that later. Thank you. UU
looks to the left from the previous photo so that we can see the vanity and sink base of the bathroom here.
VV
looks to the left from the previous photo so that we can see there's an attached closet for the commode.
WW.
And WW is advancing further from the previous photo so that we can look into the closet where the toilet is.
How is that towel suspended in the photograph?
It's hanging from a makeshift, not a makeshift, but a exercise bar that is attached to the threshold of that door.
Okay. XX.
XX is looking up from the previous photo so we get a much better view of that bar I just described.
Is this the end of your visual and photographic observations within the home? Have we covered every room to this point?
Apart from the garage.
Apart from the garage, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Investigator Mott, I'm going to show you what's been marked YY within Exhibit 10. Can you tell me what that is, please, sir?
This is a diagram that I created to represent areas where I had eventually found blood of Talia Otto within the master bathroom.
Okay, and I want to make it clear that you don't do any forensic testing, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, your job is what?
My job is to locate, preserve, and document it.
Okay.
Then collect it, of course.
And when you make a statement that it's the blood of Talia Otto, how do you know that that's her blood, sir?
I'm doing so based on lab reports provided to me by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Okay, and does this diagram contain those repetitions of information that you received from Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where might those pieces of information be located on this particular diagram?
In blue, the lettering in blue.
The lettering in blue on the right side?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the significance of the arrows and numbers associated with each of the arrows? Just give us a better idea of what this...
The arrows and the numbers in this diagram correspond to photographs that I took. In the photographs, I place a scale with these numbers written on it adjacent a stain that I locate so that I can have, from taking a close-up photograph of that, we're able to tell within the scene where it is. And so these numbers correspond with those other photographs.
Okay. Now, Investigator Mott, we've gone quickly through the home and reviewed your photographs to this point. How long were you actually involved in the investigation and search of this home for potential evidence associated with this case?
At the onset, on the 23rd in October of 13, I was there for the next 4 sequential days, and then I returned an additional time, approximately 2 weeks after that.
And how long were you in the house upon your return?
A couple weeks after that, are you referring?
Yes, sir.
Half the day, roughly.
Okay. Of the 4 days, the 4 sequential days, give us an idea of the hours that you worked within this home and what your focus was within that home.
The focus of mine in the home certainly became focused on finding blood as I tasked other search efforts to some of the other crime scene investigators. So it would be best to say my role was finding this blood. As far as hours spent in the home, I would estimate it at approximately 40, roughly.
So these aren't short days, they're full 10-hour...
Not by any means. No.
Yeah, full 10-hour days.
Or more, yes.
Okay. How much time did you spend in the area that's depicted within this diagram, the master closet, master bedroom, and master bathroom area of the home?
The majority of my time in this house was spent in this bathroom. I would estimate it around 75% of the time.
Okay. Tell us some of the things that you did within the home to collect and document evidence that related to this case. Excuse me, within this area of the home.
As far as search efforts?
Yes, sir.
So what this ended up equating to was a hands and knees search, if you will, for very, very minute amounts of blood. And it also dealt with things like after we get through the areas that are depicted here, which were visible, and you can see in photographs, then I did things like remove the baseboards to look for additional amounts of blood that wouldn't be visible there as we're just looking at it. I did things such as collect the contents of the drain traps of the sinks in case there was something suspended in the liquid there. Also using swabs to scrub the surfaces of the knobs of the faucets and the drains and that type of thing.
When you initially entered the home on the 23rd, the information that you had was that the individuals were missing.
That's correct.
Okay. Did that information change over the course of your investigation, and were you supplied new information by members of the investigative team within the Volusia County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay. Tell us when it changed and how.
Very shortly, I would say towards that first day or shortly into that, I would say the first and second day is kind of a blur because it goes late into the night that first day. So I would say, without being able to tell you a time, it changed early on when Mr. Toledo had...
Hearsay, also subject to our previous pretrial motions.
Well, the pretrial motions, pretrial ruling will stand. Hearsay
Judge, may we approach?
Yeah.
Investigator Mott, sometime October 23rd, October 24th, did you receive additional information about something that an event that may have occurred within the home?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, and did you receive that information from other law enforcement officers associated with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I did.
Particularly major case officers within your unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based upon that information, did you then focus your search into the areas displayed and depicted here in your diagram?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, before we move on to the photographs associated with your search of that area, what I'd like to talk with you about is your initial observations upon entering the home. Several of the officers that testified before you mentioned that there was an overwhelming smell of cleaning agents within the home. I think one described it as pine sol, one described it as potentially flowery. Did you have any of those same observations when you entered the home on the evening of October 23rd, late in the day as the sun was setting?
I did not.
Okay. Did you notice that there were in fact air fresheners located at several places within the home?
There were.
Okay. Would you describe to us the smell associated with those air fresheners and the strength of the smell associated with those air fresheners?
I do not have a recollection of a scent associated with the air fresheners.
There was no strong or overwhelming smell associated with those air fresheners?
Not one that I can recount.
Investigator Mott, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit ZZ. Can you tell us what we see in this photograph, please?
Yes, sir. ZZ is a photograph looking into or featuring the entrance to the master bathroom, and then also featuring the closet door to the master closet from the perspective of standing near the entranceway into the master bedroom. It features scales that I applied to stains that I located, or droplets I located, which I believe to be blood.
Okay. Now, the master closet door, is that a solid door or is that a bifold door?
It is a bifold door.
And how does it open, in or out?
Out.
Okay, so it actually comes out in a V into the walking area of the bedroom rather than a V into the closet area.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. And the bathroom door closes toward the photographer in this picture, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the size of the scales in each of these photographs?
They're 2 inches.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit AAA within 10. Tell us what you see here, sir.
This is another perspective of the previous photograph, more square to the focal plane is how I would describe it. And what I mean is the camera is more perpendicular to these spots. So I have crouched down, basically, is what I'm saying.
States BBB.
Another perspective with the same description as before.
Okay.
Closer a bit.
And if you would, just kind of describe where each of the spots is in relationship to the evidentiary stickers that you placed, just so that everyone has an opportunity to see what you saw.
Yes, sir, they're directly above and to the center of those stickers. And CCC is a close-up of only master closet stains 1 through 3.
When you come across evidentiary stains like this that you believe could potentially be blood, what do you do as a crime scene investigator in an effort to protect, preserve, secure that particular evidentiary item for further testing?
To secure it for further testing, I collect it via a sterile cotton swab.
Could you tell us how that process is done?
After photography is completed, after the sequence of photos that we've seen, the general photos showing the layout, and then this close-up providing some scale to it after this has taken place. Then I put on a new pair of exam gloves, and after having labeled, if you will, imagine a long Q-tip that only has cotton on one end of it. That is what I'm calling a swab. Those are manufactured sterile in paper sleeves, and they come in pairs inside that sleeve. That's the item that we use to collect this. What happens is, after I've put on a new pair of gloves, I also use a new vial of sterile water, and I open that and I moisten the swabs, and then I use the swab to scrub the stain, thereby collecting it from the surface.
And then how do you package this stain, or how do you package the swab so that it can be sent to the lab and tested at a later date?
The swab is returned to the paper sleeve that it comes in, and then that sleeve and swab is packaged in a manila envelope. And that is an evidence package, the things that we have seen today, where I include the case information, a description of what it is, and the evidence seal such that I can recognize it.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may do so.
Thank you. Investigator Mott, I'm going to approach you with what's been marked State's Exhibit K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, AA, BB, CC, DD, EE, FF, GG. Do you recognize those items, sir? By their outer container and the writing thereon?
Yes, sir, they are all packages that I created with the label that I created, and they are all swabs that pertain to what we've been describing. I recognize them all in the same way I described the previous packages, in that it has my evidence seal with my initials, my ID number, and the date that I sealed them, as well as the label that I created.
And were these swabs taken from the master closet and master bathroom area of 317 Covent Gardens in association with your examination and investigation at that location?
Yes, sir, they were.
And in addition to your seals and your markings, do you also see on each of these items agency seals and markings from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Biology Section?
Yes, sir, I did notice that as I reviewed them.
Judge, if there are no objections, State would move previously mentioned exhibits K through GG into evidence as State's next.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, they will be admitted.
It will become States 15 through States 37.
15 through 37?
Yes.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me which one would be 15 and which one would be 37?
K will be 15 and GG will be 37.
K?
K is 15
Uh-huh.
and GG will be 37.
Got it. You may proceed.
Thank you. Investigator Mott, while we're working on evidence, I'm showing you what's been marked as stage HH for identification. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, sir, I do. It is a purple motorized toothbrush from the master bathroom, and I recognize it in the same way that I've described the other items that I recognized.
Was this an item that was collected as a secondary DNA sample for Jasenia Suarez?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, if there are no objections, State will move HH into evidence that State's next.
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection,
States 38.
and that was HH?
Yes, sir.
Very well.
And I'm glad to wait as Ms. King catches up. I don't have anything else at this moment, but I'd like to ask more questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Investigator Mott, you've described to us how it is that you collected the swabs from these particular areas, and you've recognized and admitted the swabs for your work within the bathroom and the closet area. I'd like to continue the photographic sequence as it relates to this area, starting with DDD.
Yes, sir. DDD is a close-up featuring only master closet stain number 1.
And Investigator Mott, have you had any advanced training or experience in the field of blood spatter or blood pattern analysis?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay, and what did you recognize these stains or spots to be as far as how they were placed in that area?
Judge, I'm going to object. Outside of his realm of expertise, we had a dogwood here regarding this. Improper expert testimony.
Yes, sir. I'm kind of curious myself.
Okay, you know, I'll tell you what, I'll move on. We have a better suited witness to explain it. Okay. While we're looking at this, Investigator Mott, do you know the name Leroy Parker?
Yes, I do.
How do you know the name Leroy Parker?
A couple ways. One, he has been a useful instructor of mine in this field. He has also been in charge of crime scene investigations for the Orlando region of Florida Department of Law Enforcement for many, many years. He's now retired, just for the record.
At some point during the course of this investigation and prosecution, did you consult Leroy Parker as it relates to the blood stains found within this home?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you provide to Leroy Parker the photographs and measurements that you made in this case?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you allow Leroy Parker or give Leroy Parker the opportunity to come inspect the scene himself?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Did you accompany him during his inspection?
I did.
EEE?
EEE is a close-up of master closet stain number 2.
Okay. FFF?
Is a close-up of master closet stain number 3.
And these are the 3 stains that were on the bifold door that we've already seen?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. GGG?
Is a close-up of stain number 4, which is above the previous 3 stains.
Okay. Still on the master closet?
Yes, sir.
HHH?
HHH is looking into the master bathroom. It features a couple of those stick-on scales.
III?
It has advanced a bit from the previous photo so that we can read which number it is, or we could if we were zoomed in on a computer screen, perhaps.
How about JJJ? How about JJJ?
That is the photo which accomplishes that, yes, sir.
Okay. And I note there that JJJ is actually behind the hinge there of the master bathroom door. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's within the jamb, if you will.
KKK?
In this instance, it is 2 scales, and it's a mid-range photo that shows their placement. This is at the bottom of the doorway leading into the bathroom.
LLL?
A close-up of one of those stains, number 13.
Is the stain above or below on that one?
It is actually both.
Both?
Yes, sir.
Okay. MMM?
Number 14, which is also featured at the bottom of that bathroom door.
NNN?
Now, from standing wholly within the master bathroom, this photo depicts several scales that I affixed to that sort of bulkhead portion of drywall adjacent the tub.
Okay. And that's the bathtub there in the photograph?
Yes, sir.
And which end of the bathtub is that? Is that the end closest to the door or the end closest to the bathroom cabinets?
This will be the end that is closer to the cabinets or the sinks. This is another perspective of that. Now, you can make out the tile of that short wall that's the edge of the tub on our right, and this is now facing the sinks.
I'm going to back up one photograph. Is it the same tile that we see kind of head on in the NNN photograph?
Yes, sir. The next photo, the 000, I have moved to the right slightly from the previous photo.
Okay. Same bulkhead, right?
Yes, sir.
PPP?
This is a close-up of the scale that's featured in the previous photo.
QQQ?
Also a close-up of the scale featured in that previous photo.
RRR?
This I've moved to the left from that previous photo that showed this group of scales, so now I'm looking more square on to the end of that wall, as well as the tub.
SSS.
A close-up of one of the scales featured in that previous photo.
Make sure you're on the microphone, okay?
Sorry about that. TTT is a close-up, I'm sorry, TTT is a close-up of another stain featured in that group of stains.
And this is master bath number 3 in TTT?
Yes, sir.
And I just want to back up for a second and make sure that we've identified the stains kind of throughout the master bath. As we get to the bulkhead, we see PPP, that's master bath number 1?
Yes, sir. QQQ is master bath number
7?
7.
RRR is an overview. SSS is master bath number 2, is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
TTT is master bath number 3.
Yes, sir.
UUU is master bath number 4.
Yes, sir.
And my reason for going over it this way is, are your items of evidence that we've seen the swaps, are they packaged with each of these numbers and that we've seen in your photographic sequence?
They correspond, yes, sir.
Okay. VVV
is master bath number 5.
WWW?
Master bath number 6.
XXX is what?
Now I have, looking to the left from the previous sequence of photos, looking down at the sink base and the sink there.
Okay. Why?
It is the bottom of that previous sink base, as well as to the left of it on the floor. So there's a total of 4 scales here, which depict 4 stains that I found and swabbed.
ZZZ?
There's a mid-range showing master baths number 17 and 18.
AAAA?
Is the close-up showing master bath stains number 15 and 16.
I can't see them in this photograph.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to us where they are as it relates to your scales?
They are directly above the scale and to the center.
Even if we can't see the blood in the photograph, are you still able to collect it with a swab?
Yes, sir, you can actually see it in person. This speaks to the amount of time, I think, spent there.
Okay.
In other words, it's not plainly visible from standing up, but crawling around and looking very intently, that's how this is located.
BBBB?
There's a close-up of master bath stain number 15.
CCCC?
The close-up of master bath stain number 16.
DDDD?
The close-up of master bath stain number 17.
EEEE?
The close-up of master bath number 18.
Okay. Investigator Mott, I'd like to turn your attention back outside the house. What are we looking at in State's photograph FFFF?
A photograph of a silver Saturn that was sitting in the driveway.
Okay. Was this item of evidence searched, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it searched both by you and one of your associates within the crime scene investigation unit?
Yes, sir.
GGGG?
It's a photograph looking into the driver's door of the vehicle.
HHHH?
A photograph looking into the front passenger door of the vehicle.
Okay. Anything particularly relevant as it relates to the search of this automobile in this case?
No, sir.
Investigator Mott, in addition to searching the interior portion of the house, you searched the exterior portion of the house as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The items found within I in this photograph, what are they and where did you find them?
This is a box of kitchen trash bags and a roll of kitchen trash bags found in the kitchen under the sink.
Okay. I note that they're on a uniform background. Could you tell us why that is, sir?
Yes, sir. This photo was taken at our office, what I would refer to as post-scene photos that I take for the purposes of illustration. Also, this photo depicts the location where I lifted fingerprints, as seen in those small red stick-on markers.
Tell us how a photograph lift, how a fingerprint lift is conducted.
After powder is applied to a surface and allowed to adhere to the ridges of the prints that are left there such that they become visible, and after I've photographed them in place, such as this, then I apply clear tape to the print, and it sticks to the tape, and you lift the tape up, and the print comes with it.
Could you give us a little bit better understanding of what a fingerprint is so that we understand how it is that it's collected and preserved?
Sure, as you go through your normal life, you have sweat and oils and things that come from your skin, and you have little pores on the ridges which excrete these, some more than others, and so when you touch things, those are deposited onto the surfaces you touch.
Okay, and what benefit does the powder give you?
It is very sensitive to adhering to these things, adhering to moisture and oils, and so it binds to it, it sticks to it, and it gives us something visible to look at so that fingerprint analysts can compare them to standards and make identifications.
In addition to this particular item that was retrieved from the home and fingerprints were lifted from the item itself, how many other surfaces were fingerprinted within the home?
All of them, where it would be applicable or practical or possible to find prints.
When you talk about possible to find prints, what are some of the things that make it difficult to find fingerprints?
Depending on the surface. For example, I wouldn't expect to find a fingerprint on carpet. All right, I need a surface that is smooth, that is not porous, so that these oils and moisture can be deposited on the surface and left there rather than absorbed into it. So in other words, there's a lot of surfaces in your home you might think of that where a fingerprint is not going to be found. You know, glass being the most lovely surface for them. So if you take that understanding and then you apply it through your home, you can kind of visualize where you see prints and not, especially if you've ever tried to clean a home.
Even with a great surface like glass, if you touch the glass, are you guaranteed to leave a fingerprint?
No, sir.
Could you explain that a little bit more for us?
As I had mentioned in brief earlier, some folks just aren't as good at leaving their prints. They don't excrete as much, so that's one of the factors at play. The other one is that, for the most part, as far as I'm aware, people that wander about their lives aren't thinking about trying to intentionally leave prints. So when they touch things and move things, they're not thinking about keeping their hand in place and still. They grab things, they slide, they smudge, and so the result is the fingerprints are smudged and obliterated, things like that.
Now, we've heard a lot on television about touch DNA. Could you give us your understanding of what touch DNA is and how it's collected, measured, tested for?
Essentially, touch DNA is the sloughed off skin cells that come off of your body through your natural processes and or through an abrasion. So as you grip something, in many circumstances, you'll leave your DNA on it.
Do you always leave DNA on everything you touch?
No, sir.
Okay. And much like fingerprints, can DNA be obliterated, ruined, unable to be detected in any recognizable quantity?
Absolutely.
Does it depend upon, what does it depend upon as far as getting a quality sample from a particular item?
Some of the enemies of DNA, for instance, are the environment that it's in. So if it's hot and humid, its value for DNA will degrade. Another example of a hurdle for us would be the surface itself. And so one way to think about it is if something is good for fingerprints, how I just described, nice and smooth and shiny, if you will, then it's not necessarily good for DNA because there's not a lot of abrasion taking place. But if something's good for DNA, it should be grippy, if you will, and that's not something I find a print on. So that's kind of an illustration as to how we would find it, or where we would find it, and where we would not.
Okay. With respect to this particular box, you said that the red tape or the red labels there on the top of the box, the two of them, that they represent areas where you were able to lift what you believe to be a latent fingerprint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you secure those fingerprints on a fingerprint card and turn them over to Volusia County Tech Services for the purpose of additional analysis?
Yes, sir.
Does Volusia County Sheriff's Office have its own internal, agency or department that examines fingerprints?
Yes, we do.
Is that the Tech Services Department I just mentioned?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, Investigator Mott, JJ.
Is a photo of, a post-scene photo, as I described, of another cleaner that was found within the residence.
And where was that found?
This one was found in the garage, I believe.
Okay. KK.
These are bottles that were found in the exterior trash can.
Okay, let's talk about the exterior trash can for just a few moments. Earlier in your testimony, we talked about the absence of a shower liner, the absence of the clear shower liner in the master bathroom. Did you eventually find a clear shower liner
Yes, sir, I did.
associated with this residence?
In the trash can that was on the west side of this house, up against the house, yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us about the search that you conducted within the trash can and what you located, the order that it was within the trash can, and your observations as you pulled each of the items out.
When I opened this is one of those large green trash cans that has the hinged lid on it. And immediately upon opening it, there were a couple of canvas paintings on top. Beneath that were 3 trash bags full of trash, and they were the white kitchen-style trash bags full of trash. And beneath that was the clear plastic liner I'm referring to.
Okay, and as far as the canvas paintings, did you make any observations about their surfaces?
I did. They were damaged.
Pursuant to pretrial hearing on this matter, Judge.
Okay, so the court's previous ruling will stand.
Sir, go ahead.
There was damage to them. They were torn.
Okay. And with respect to the trash, anything notable about the bags of trash that were packaged within the trash can?
What stood out to me were numerous cleaning products, bottles of cleaning products, as well as the smell of cleaning products and the wetness of them.
Was there an amount of, no matter the kind of cleaner, Comet is obviously powder, Lysol is obviously liquid, was there an amount of cleaner left within the bottles themselves?
No, they were empty.
Okay. And how many empty bottles of cleaners did you find within the trash can?
Approximately 3. I don't recall exact number beyond that.
Okay. Sure, it's been marked as states LLLL. Was this one of the items that you found within the trash can, or was it within the home?
This was within a utility closet in the hallway between the living room and the garage, where there were washer and dryer.
Okay. And approximately how much liquid was left in this container, if you recall?
I don't, but I know that it wasn't empty. I don't believe it was full.
Okay. That's fair. Stacked within the trash can itself, you said that there were wet contents associated with the trash bags. Where was the wetness? Was it inside the bag? Was it outside the bag? Did it appear that the bag had leaked?
No, they were inside the bag, so the items within them were moist or damp. The bags themselves were not on the outside.
Okay, so the bags hadn't leaked in any way and run vertically down on anything stacked below them?
No, sir.
Okay. Then let's move on down to that shower liner that you told us about. Tell us how you found it within the trash can.
On the bottom.
Okay, and how was it? Was it balled up? Was it crumpled up?
It was folded / wadded up. It was, crumpled up. Whatever word you want to pick. It was not folded neatly.
Okay. And what observations did you make as you retrieved that particular item from the trash can?
It was also wet. It seemed to be wet with like a pinkish liquid, and it had a smell, again, of cleaning agents or of vinegar, I thought.
The pinkish liquid, did it appear to be like a body soap that you would commonly use in a shower?
Well, it was in more quantity than I would assume there, so it was all throughout.
It was all over the shower curtain?
Yes.
Okay, and did it have the uniform smell across the surface of the shower curtain?
Yes, sir, it did.
Okay, the smell of cleaner or vinegar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Over the course of your investigation conducted inside the home, well, let me try this a different way. You don't work in a vacuum, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you receive information from other law enforcement agents associated with the investigation that you're conducting?
I do.
Do they relay to you particular items of interest within the home that may be necessary for you to seize or follow up with your investigation?
Yes, they do.
Were the gaming consoles in the master bedroom an example of that?
They're an example of something that would not stand out to me as obvious evidentiary value, but become so when I am told that they may be, and so I collect them.
Give me just a minute. I lost my place in my notes. I'm sorry. In addition to the gaming consoles that were retrieved, was your attention directed towards any items of potentially broken glass or ceramic, maybe that would be associated with little statues within the living room?
I was told that we may expect to find some, or that we should look for some.
And did you find any broken glass or ceramic that would be associated with something like that?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you look on the floor? Did you look in the rugs?
Yes.
Okay. And you found nothing?
Correct.
Okay. Were you also told that there may be some damage behind the master bathroom door, or maybe the master bathroom door knob or a hook on the back of the door had been run through the drywall in the bathroom?
I don't recall that specifically. I recall that the door itself had some malfunction to it.
But that there weren't any holes in the drywall associated with either the knob or the hook?
No.
Okay.
I'm looking for a logical breaking point. I don't know how close you are. It's almost 4:30.
Yeah, I'm not close. We're probably going to need another half hour or so with this witness, maybe a little bit longer. This would be a fine time to break.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and recess for the night. Go ahead and fold your notes and leave them right in your envelope and in your seats, and then we'll collect them and save them for you for tomorrow. Remind you once again, don't talk to anybody about the case. Don't ask anyone to help you with it. Don't do any research. Don't read the newspaper or anything along those lines, okay?
I'm sorry, we didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Just a reminder not to do any investigation, not to talk to anybody about the case, not to ask for any help from anyone. Don't read the newspapers or anything along those lines, okay? No local news. Stick with the national news for now. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow, 8:45 in the jury room. Try to get started right at 9. Thank you.
All right.